The morning air was crisp, biting at my skin as I stood at my father's funeral, clad in a black suit that felt more like a straitjacket than formal wear. I had never envisioned a scenario where I would find myself laughing amidst such profound grief. Yet, there I was, emotions swirling chaotically within me, when my wife, Rachel, leaned in close. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but her words were audacious enough to break the suffocating silence of the moment. "I changed the locks on the $30 million condo you inherited because I couldn't help myself," she stated nonchalantly, as if discussing the mundane details of dinner plans rather than the monumental loss we were both enduring. The sheer audacity of her statement struck me like a slap in the face. Here we were, just feet away from my father's lifeless body, and Rachel was reveling in her own opportunistic maneuvering, suggesting we might share the condo if I found the idea uncomfortable. There was an unsettling contrast between her casual greed and the solemnity surrounding us. I turned to her, searching her face for any sign of hesitation, a flicker of awareness that she had just made an enormous misstep. But all I found was a familiar self-assured smirk that she wore when she felt she had the upper hand. In that moment, laughter erupted from me, an uncontrollable burst that shattered the heavy atmosphere. Heads turned, and the somber mood shifted dramatically. Rachel's smile vanished, replaced by a scowl as she gripped my arm, demanding to know what was so amusing. I wiped away a tear, still chuckling, unable to contain my reaction. "You don't know, do you?" I asked, relishing the moment as Rachel tensed beside me, realization dawning on her that she had miscalculated. She had thought she had maneuvered me into a corner. But what she didn't understand was that my father had always been 10 steps ahead of everyone, including her. The funeral had drained me emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Losing my father felt like losing my very foundation. He had built everything from the ground up and instilled in me values of hard work and discipline, despite the wealth we possessed. But Rachel was not mourning the loss of a great man. She was reveling in the removal of the one obstacle standing between her and the riches she so desperately craved. The signs had been there all along, but I had been too enveloped in my grief to notice. I should have recognized her true intentions when she insisted on sitting beside me in the front row, squeezing my hand and whispering that we would get through this together. It should have raised a red flag when she kept inquiring about the reading or when, just 2 nights before, she had seemed inexplicably cheerful while I was busy handling estate matters with attorneys. She was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and now she believed she had found it. "I changed the locks," she reiterated, studying my reaction as if I were a puzzle she was trying to solve. I shook my head in disbelief at her audacity. "Well," she replied, crossing her arms defiantly, "it's our condo." I inhaled deeply, a mixture of anger and betrayal swirling within me, but mostly I felt amusement at the fact that Rachel had revealed her hand too soon. "You really think that's how this works?" I questioned, lowering my voice as I leaned in closer to her. She cocked her head, bewildered. "Daniel," she responded, her tone edged with impatience, "we're married. What's yours is mine." I nearly erupted into laughter again. Rachel had never understood the lessons my father had imparted. Never to mix love with money and to always protect one's wealth. She believed she had taken something from me, but legally, the condo was untouchable. She had unwittingly set herself up for a monumental mistake. I leaned in even closer, echoing her earlier posture. "Rachel," I began, my voice steady, "do you know what's truly funny?" For the first time, I saw her smirk falter. Uncertainty flickered in her eyes, and I could sense her confidence starting to wane. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice now barely above a whisper. I savored the moment, relishing my newfound power. "The condo," I said slowly and deliberately, "isn't even in my name." Her entire demeanor shifted in an instant. I watched as realization washed over her breath hitching and her fingers clenching into fists. In that moment, I knew Rachel had just lost for the first time in our marriage. She was no longer in control, and she was acutely aware of it. I continued, "So please let me know, Rachel, When you change the locks. She hesitated before responding. Does it matter? I grinned, relishing my position of power. It makes me happy. Her sharp exhale betrayed her irritation, a stark contrast to her earlier confidence. Just days before, while I was grappling with the loss of my father, she had prioritized securing her claim on what she perceived as her share of the inheritance. You didn't even wait until after the funeral, I pointed out, my tone incredulous. Rachel sighed, her impatience palpable as I urged her not to be. This is about you, Rachel. This is dramatic, and it concerns our future. I'm your husband, and I don't understand why you're making this such an enormous issue. She crossed her arms, her expression hardening. I should have access to everything we own. I raised an eyebrow at her boldness. The last time I checked, your father handed me the condo, but that's just semantics. Do you not believe that marriage is about sharing? Oh, I do, I countered, but I didn't realize I was being played. I took a deep breath, shaking my head in disbelief. You really think you have any right to that condo? Of course I do, Rachel asserted, her voice firm and unwavering. I discussed it with someone. I interrupted, incredulous. You spoke to someone while I was mourning my father over something you had no right to? For the first time, I saw doubt creep into her eyes, replacing the confidence she had exuded just moments before. She hadn't expected me to resist. She had underestimated my resolve. I leaned in slightly, maintaining my composure. Rachel, you should have researched this before making your move. I grinned, watching her face drain of color as I continued. The condo isn't even in my name. Her reaction was immediate. You're lying, she said, her voice trembling with disbelief. Are you certain about that? I pressed, observing the panic unfolding on her face. She had thought she had me ensnared, but she had underestimated me in a way she never anticipated. Rachel straightened, trying to regain her composure. You can just put me on the trust now, and we can work things out. The audacity of her suggestion took me aback. You're my husband, after all. It should be ours. In that instant, I realized the truth. She had never truly loved me. She had only enjoyed the security I provided. Love had never been part of our relationship. I inhaled deeply, locking eyes with her. No, Rachel, we're not doing that. I'm being reasonable. I can fix this, she insisted, but her smile faded as I interjected. I was rational when I chose to ignore the red flags. Her nostrils flared as she tried to convince herself that she wasn't after my money. But I was done being reasonable. So, you're just going to destroy our marriage because of this? I shook my head firmly. No, Rachel. You threw it away the moment you prioritized money over me. Her jaw tightened, and her hands balled into fists, frustration radiating from her. She had expected me to plead for our marriage, but I wasn't willing to fight for someone who had deceived me. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of relief. This was the beginning of her downfall, and I was determined to witness every moment of it. Rachel had always been confident in her ability to manipulate any situation, conducting herself like royalty while pursuing her desires with an arrogance that was both captivating and repelling. But she had played the wrong game with the wrong man this time. Now, she would learn the consequences of allowing greed to cloud her judgment, and I was prepared to let her face the reality of her choices.